Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt, and we do the beer stuff here. A little bit of Tröegs time up in this piece in the form of their Pennsylvania lager. Yeah, Tröegs dropped this, I want to say about a month ago, maybe, give or take. And ever since it dropped, I really wanted to give it a whirl because lager, yes, Tröegs, yes. That's called simple math, people. Simple math. And yeah, I just want to try their take on what I assume is kind of like a new flagship beer for them. They do, their pills and they do, they have Nugget Nectar. They have a bunch of different kind of flagship beers. But this, when it comes out in bottles, something like this called Pennsylvania Lager, you figure it's going to stick around for a while. So let's dive into it, see what's what. What do we have on here? We have, they've been around since 1997. A smile with every sip. Tröegs Pennsylvania Lager, independently owned, crafted and family owned, 5% alcohol by volume. All malt lager brewed with Northern Brewer and a tradition hops. Freshest, they do a freshest buy. So they have a 4/25/26. What is that? I assume they're giving it 6 months then. Because that would put that at, no, right? That would make sense then. I wonder. I hate freshest buy. Yeah, that's all we get. Government warning stuff, and we are done and done. Labor wise, it is just class as class could be. It's simple, plain to the point. I ain't arguing with it. I dig it. I like it. Here we go. No idea what this is going to be as far as lagerways. They call it Pennsylvania lager. Tröegs can screw traditional quite a bit with their beers, but they're also known to do their own thing. So we'll see where the sucker lands. Yeah, give it a whirl, give it a twirl, give it a. Let's not have too much dirty glass mafia going on. It's in particulates out here in the shed. So yeah, label wise, I'm absolutely 100% here for that. Digging on that for sure. And as far as the beer goes, I mean, it looks the part of what you'd expect from a really nice kind of lager. It's that beautiful carbonation, soft carbonation, not too crazy. Clear could be. I mean, my glass might have a little chill haze, a little bit of my funky hand haze going on it, but it definitely has this super crystal clear, picky finger, white as white could be head. I mean, it looks all the part of what you'd expect from a lager. Now let's put it up there. Let's kind of compare it to macro adjunct lager, darker than what you'd expect compared to that. Not from what I expect from Tröegs, but it definitely has that kind of darker look than if you're going to compare it to a macro lager. Now it is a little bit higher ABV. I think a lot of macro lagers tend to skew closer to 4. This is 5, but they're doing their thing there. So that straw with a little touch of amber to it. Done and done. Let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a nose. Oh yeah. There's a decent amount of malt and hops in here, actually. Quite a bit more than I'd expect from just something called a base kind of lager. Comes very much Bavarian style lager to me. Has those kind of classic hops, maybe a little bit noble hops. They say tradition hops. I don't know if they mean traditional hops or is there a hop called tradition? I don't believe so. Northern Brewer in tradition, I think it probably is a hop called that, and I just don't know. But it comes off as those classic kind of slightly little bit resinous, not very big in that sense. Maybe a touch of citrus. It definitely a bit of floralness going on here, and there's a nice malt base here. It's very much kind of a two-row pilsner mix for me. Maybe a little bit of crystal malt thrown in, so there is something a little bit beefier beyond what you expect from a base kind of malt, or base pilsner malt. Again, it's not a pilsner; it is a lager. But it has this nice kind of malt base, maybe a little bit of toasted crackery kind of vibes to it. But outside of that, nothing else. I say that with very much a positive kind of spin on it. It is clean as clean can be, at least aromatically, and then it just comes off showing a beautiful hop base with a beautiful malt base. Balance. Balance is the word we're using here. So let's just dive into the sucker, see where we land. Cheers, y'all. I mean, both of those show up even bigger in a glass than I'd expect based off of the nose. Not markedly bigger, but definitely there. First, let's talk about the malt base. Again, beefy, rich, but it still has that super hyper clean squeakiness that you expect from a lager. So you get that decent kind of hefty malt base. Something, like I said, like Bavarian lager, maybe it's just a hair bigger than that, but definitely not getting close to kind of like Oktoberfesty Fest beer. Nothing as far as that big, but it has that nice, rich kind of toasted crackeriness I talked about. which is that little bit of cool trick I talk about where you have a little bit of heft to the malt base, but it finishes like a lager, super crisp and clean. Has that in spades. On the other side of things, hops show up equally as big, maybe even a touch bigger. A little bit of zip, a bittering. Again, if we're going to lean anywhere here, it's a slightly pininess, nothing too crazy, but there's a big, nice floral punch to it, a little bit of tannicness to it, and oddly enough, a nice little fruitiness. It almost comes off slightly berry-like to me. Don't usually get that in a lager, but I dig that on this. So you throw in that little bit of soft fruitiness, that little berry vibe on top of that kind of slightly piney, definitely floral, definitely a little bit tannic kind of hoppiness. There's a really beautiful balance in the way the beer kind of comes off. Like I said, the hops may be a little bit bigger than that malt, but they're very, very close. There's this nice kind of ebb and flow, this back and forth between both the hops and the malt. And then, as we talked about at the beginning, is a lager, as a lager can be. It's squeaky clean. It drinks like a lager. It drinks really, really quick, finishes clean. A little bit of lingering bittering on the palate, maybe a little bit of tanginess in that berry, kind of lingers, but not that much. Just lets you kind of want more and go back for more. Being that we're talking about a 5% beer here, you can go back for more. Not feel super, it's not a word, super guilty about it. Yeah, world class, just absolutely fantastic stuff. And it's honestly, it's not something I didn't expect from Tröegs. Tröegs, they know what they're doing. They make really great beer. And I think when they dive into lagers, I think they find their best foot forward on those. It seems to me like when it comes to whether it be Troganator or Pills or even this lager, it's just those ones for me are almost a little step above all the other stuff they do. Listen, one of my favorite beers of all time is their American Barley Wine Flying Mouflon, and the first barrel aged variant of that. So it's not like they can't deliver hazies or big stuff or anything in between. Leaf Seeker was great. They do such a good job across the board. For some reason, it always comes back to lagers for me with them, and this one is definitely no slouch in that. And then it just comes off. It's just a really epically well made lager. And in a world of a lot of lagers nowadays, whether you talk about Human Robot and Schilling and Notch and Jack's Abbey and Von Trapp and there's so many great lager breweries out there now. For them to produce one of, if not one of the best lagers that I've had as of late, which is a testament to what they do and how they do it. That's all I got. Really, not much else outside of that. Everything I said is pretty much what I get from this beer. Lager vibes on point, malt and hops expressive but not overpowering, and really, really well balanced. Super drinkable beer. Is this one of the better lagers I've had as of late? Yes. Not Rushmore status? Yes. And that's a very hard category to crack because there's so many good ones out there. Like I said, I'm surrounded by such great lager nowadays out here in northwestern New Jersey, being 45 minutes from either Philly or New York or anywhere in between. I have my pick of lager breweries. Buying this off a shelf, $12.99 for a sixer. This will be a staple. This will be a regular in my beer fridge rotation as long as it's around. I'm curious to see if it's seasonal or not. We'll find out. I'm sure how well it sells will dictate that. But yeah, Mount Rushmore status, value and availability, like I said, off a shelf, $12.99. They do a beer finder thing so you can find our beers wherever, and it's pretty accurate, to be perfectly honest with you. And leave you with, if you like what we like this beer, if you like lagers, you want something a bit beefier and a bit more expressive than your macroagic lagers, but you don't want something that's going to be infinitely crazy or trying to be too cool for school, and just be really well made beer with a nice expressive aromatics flavor, the whole nine. There you go. Go get it. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Massive Beers, if you want to check me out in the social media stuff here, massive podcasting stuff. Tröegs, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? I told you about my favorite beers. Let me know about your favorite beers. Let me know if you've had this. All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of a local lager right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.